Well, thank you all very much for the opportunity to be here. I recognize a number of faces in the audience, and on the drive over here I was sort of reading the hashtag feed, so I'm not sure that there's much that I could tell you that you don't already know. So I'm going to share with you some experiences that I've had being a fan of direct social media, and I'm a particular fan of the 140-character Twitter. I have had, and at the outset, if you follow the media, the newspapers, and the scanner, by the way, is incredibly. I see Mr. Foster out in the foyer, and he is and his team are incredibly agile and aggressive in using direct social media, but they're not part of the group of folks that have criticized me, but I've gotten more criticism in the mainstream newspapers for being on Twitter than I've gotten praise, and it's been a little weird. The implication being that, well, how can you run a city if you're tweeting? And my response is, how can you not do everything you can to run a city well if you're not tweeting? And they're like, well, when do you find time to do it? And well, it's 140 characters, it's great discipline, and there's lots of time between things. And sometimes I make time because of the value proposition. The things that I have found most useful include starting with emergencies, snowstorms, bad weather, rumors of emergencies, the big noise in South Portland. I usually know quicker than often the official sources of information, if not totally accurately, although more oftentimes than not the tweets are. I know quicker and I know more precisely than a lot of the official tweets, and I encourage Portlanders to do that. The how do I say this? The snowpocalypse was a great hashtag a couple of years ago when we had that sneaker snow, and no one was prepared, and the weather forecasters were surprised. I got better information, and I was out on the snow plows, and I was around the city. I got better information that I was able to feed to our incident response system than we were getting from any place else, because the media, as good a job as they try to do in inclement weather, have a really tough time. Call to action. We suffer, like a lot of cities, we suffer from murders and shootings and lost individuals. And I try to be very aggressive asking people for tips and for help. Now, I think Portland gangsters are on Twitter? I don't know, but I know that out there are folks that might know of other folks that leads to the possibility that tips come in through Twitter. Can I tell you that tips have come in through Twitter? No, but I can tell you that in the past year, our tip line, the number of people that are reporting anonymously or otherwise what they know, especially of our gun murders, has gone up, and it has been more effective. So the call to action, very important. Improve service. I'm obsessed with potholes, and yes, and I like hearing about stop signs and potholes and things like that. And I tweet back about every third tweet. I also encourage people to upload the app and or to call 823-BUMP themselves or to go online and report a pothole. So I use it to be responsive and to let up to 34,000 Twitter followers of mine know the answer to a question, but also as I answer, I promote other ways for more direct connection, help people get where they want. I ask advice. From folks on specific issues, or when somebody as is our job, when I get complaints, I'll ask people. I think some of the most useful interactions I've had is when I ask people, well, what do you suggest? And that creates this great sort of dialogue back and forth. The thing that I read the most on Twitter, and that I do as well, but we try to do it in a way that in sense dialogue is just sharing basic news. If someone tweets me back or direct messages me, I try to get back to them. And what I value most, I guess, in saying through all this is the ability to have that two-way conversation. And other mayors that I talk to across the United States at the U.S. Conference of Mayors are amazed that I spend the time to do this. I don't think they should be. I've gotten less email and more Twitter traffic now than before, and as you all know, the advantage of responding to one person's question that is probably on the minds of, potentially hundreds of Portlanders is I get to answer once, and if you're watching the feed, you get the answer to the question you might have fleetingly had in your mind at one point. So much more efficient, so much more of a value add to democracy. In the 3 minutes and 26 seconds I have left, and I hear you play the theme to Exorcist if I go long or something, somebody? Exorcist, really? No, Exodus, I heard, I'm sorry. Questions, anyone have any questions or advice? Or should I just watch the feed? Do you tweet other mayors? I do tweet other mayors. Gregor Robertson in Vancouver, British Columbia is a tweeter. The mayor of St. Louis tweets more than I do. Mayor of Villagrosa in Los Angeles is a prodigious tweeter. Cory Booker is a big tweeter, especially in snowstorms and such. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
How much of tweeting is done by you versus how much is done by your staff?
How much is done by me versus how much is done by my staff? It's almost all done by me. That's why there is misspellings and poor grammar. I'm slightly dyslexic and sometimes just rushed. No, I would not recommend. I would not recommend to a mayor, and this is what I say at U.S. Conference of Mayors when they've asked me, is don't, have a staff tweet if you need to, Office of the Mayor, Portland, but don't have your staff tweet if you're a local elected official. Frankly, if you're an elected official at all. Frankly, it's not that hard. Folks deserve to hear from us directly. It's no more time. It's actually less time than emails, and it's got to be authentic. I mean, that's the beauty of this.
Have you ever used Twitter instead of doing a press conference?
Have ever done Twitter instead of doing a press conference? I would have to say, Amy Ruiz here is Director of Communications in the Mayor's Office. She's a great Twitterer in her own right, so follow her. I break news, if by you mean breaking news on Twitter, absolutely. And by breaking news, it comes in two forms. It's the first place you will hear it, or it's because it doesn't get coverage because of cutbacks in mainstream journalism. They just can't cover everything anymore. It is getting word out about something that you're otherwise not going to know about. Oh, yes, sorry. Great. The question was, how impactful are public policy suggestions and how representative is my Twitter following? Occasionally, I'll answer the last one first. Occasionally, people will email people that I'm following or following me, and I'm shocked. There's spam out there like everything else. We work really hard to follow local folks. That's what is most valuable as a local elected official. And in terms of the people that do rhetoric, somebody called me a douche the other day. It just, that doesn't move me very much. But the arguments The arguments are what move me, and that what can be said in 2 minutes can be said in 140 characters. Thank you.